So if you're looking for information on EQ or panning, there's lots already out there. This is a short video on PanEQ, which is a technique that combines both of those things. I use it a lot at home, and I just thought I'd share it with anyone who isn't familiar with it. So yeah, it is an EQ where you can set the position in the stereo field of each filter independently. Now, crucially, you can use this on a mono track, so it's a great way of turning mono into stereo without using the kind of extreme sort of stereo enhancing plugins that I find tend to turn tracks to mush. The second thing I find is that it can add more roundness and three-dimensionality to the sound. And I think the reason for that is, of course, that we hear in stereo, and one of the things that separates the two signals we receive from each ear is the fact that they have a slightly different frequency pickup. One really extreme example of that would be the piano. If I'm sitting there playing it and my left ear is closer to the left strings, it's going to pick up more low end. If my right ear is closer to the high strings, it's going to pick up more high end. And my brain combines both those signals to produce a sort of 3D picture of the sound that I'm hearing. So yeah, PanEQ mimics that effect, I find, quite effectively. And thirdly, it can add a lot of movement as well using automation. So I'm going to show you how I do all three using Reaper. Let's go. I've got this rhythm track made up of various beeps and squeaks. And one element of it is this hi-hat, which was recorded as a mono recording from a drum machine. And let's turn it up a bit. It sounds okay at the moment, but it's not really competing with the other instruments. It sounds a bit thin. And I just wanted something to give it a bit more width. I tried some stereo width enhancing techniques, and they just tend to rob the sound of its crispness, of its clarity. They didn't work. And that's where PanEQ comes in. Now, you can do PanEQ without using any VSTs. And you do it like this. You simply have to duplicate the original track and then pan and EQ the duplicate differently from the original. So in Reaper, that's Control-C to copy the original track, Control-V to paste it and create that duplicate. So here we go, here is the duplicate. We change the panning on the duplicate track. There we go. And we add an EQ. I think I will go for the Nova because it's free and it's very good. And we just decide what we want to enhance. It's quite high. There we go, and that's given it more width. Now, obviously, it's also made it twice as loud. And the disadvantage of creating PanEQ this way is that you're going to mess with the level of your signal. You're also going to create a lot more clutter because for every filter, you're going to need to create a new track. And it's also not very friendly for CPU usage because all the effects I had on the original have also been duplicated. So it's not the most practical way of doing it. So I'm not going to use that technique here. So I'm going to delete the duplicate. Instead, I'm going to use a VST, and I'm going to use the fantastic Brainworx plugin, PanEQ. I don't think it's free, but you can download a trial to see if you like it. Here it is. So you've got your frequency going from high to low, and you've got your position in the stereo field going from left to right. And all you do is drag each filter around till you find which position and which frequency you'd like it to be on. These are the free filters. So you've got 3 to choose from. We're just going to use one for now. This might sound obvious, but this PanEQ won't do anything at all unless you change the gain. Okay, if you move the the panning around, obviously, if it's not been made higher or lower, nothing's going to change. So make sure you increase the gain. You can decrease it as well, but I found that sounds a bit weird. I think an increase in gain tends to work better in my experience. So there we go. So let's try sort of about here. And and you've got your Q value, which is how wide or narrow the filter is. And let's give that a listen. Let's make it. So compare that to the original. There we go. I mean, it's pulled the signal to the left slightly, but it has made it wider and sort of bigger. So let's add another filter to add back a bit more of the high frequency. Let's try about here. Let's increase the gain. Let's see what that does. A bit low. Yeah, I mean, that's a much stronger sound. I mean, it's made it a bit louder, so you can increase the output gain. Sorry, decrease the output gain. It's just a bit of a fuller sound now, so we put that back into the original track. It feels more integrated somehow. So there we go. So that's the PanEQ. Now you can also use it to add a little bit of movement to the track. And you do this by automating the parameters. So for this, we're going to use the third filter you get here. And let's try, I don't know, let's try somewhere around here. And we'll increase the gain. And for this, I'm going to go to the parameters of the PanEQ in Reaper. You go down here to pan and to modulation, and I'm going to enable the LFO to make the panning of that frequency swish from left to right. So let's center that. We're going to put centered, and that's looking quite fast at the moment for a track which is quite a mellow, slow tempo. So let's go to 4 quarter notes. That looks about right. Let's see if that's worked. Oh, it has. Brilliant. But that's quite an extreme pan from left to right, and I think that's going to be a bit much. So let's go back. Where's it gone? Here it is. And let's decrease the strength slightly. So let's go for about 62. See, there we go. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I did want the hi-hats panned slightly more to one side. I don't really want the hi-hat in the center of the stereo field. So what I might do, I might change the balance so it's more towards the right half. Let's see what that sounds like. Here we go. Yeah, just a little bit of movement, you know, and obviously you could pan the whole track, you know, you could automate the panning of the whole track, but that would be a more extreme thing, and it might be a bit distracting. Something like this, you just get a slight sense that it's moving, and you know, when you're listening to the full mix, you might not even notice it. You'll just experience it as a, you know, just an extra bit of dynamism and movement within the track. So I think that's quite a nice little technique. That's about it. Thanks for watching. Sorry the lighting makes me look like a vampire in this video. I might sort it out for next time. This is my first video, so please let me know how I did in the comments below. And if you want to see any more, click like, share and subscribe. Cheers.